and we are responsible for the housing policy. So I'm Stanley, and I will be responsible for sharing the insights that we learned from this study tour, and my groupmates will share their feelings also. So let me talk about the insight that I gained from this study tour about the housing policy in Singapore. So firstly, the first thing that I would like to mention that the insight for Hong Kong would be the funding system in housing policy in Singapore. Actually, as we know that the Singapore housing system is funded by the CPF, that is the Central Property Fund, and actually it is a kind of funding governed by the government, and actually it is a mixture of contribution-based and a funding that can allow the people to take their fund from their take some money from the fund to purchase their housing. So actually, this kind of system is similar to the monetary provident fund in Hong Kong. But actually, I think that this kind of policy can be an insight, and Hong Kong can learn from the Singapore experience. And actually, I think the governments can make better use of the MPF in Hong Kong. Actually, they can learn from the Singapore experience and make some modification of MPF. Actually, because I think that the objective and the details is similar to the CPF in Singapore, and actually by such modification, it can diversify the use of CPF, diversify the use of MPF in Hong Kong. But actually, this kind of funds not just serve for retirement, but it can make flexible use in other areas such as medical care, or use that funding for housing. So I think this kind of fund would be very useful. And actually, some people may criticize that because we know that more than 65% of people are living in public housing provided by the government in Singapore. But actually, some people may think that this kind of housing provision would be a huge burden for the government. But actually, it does not, because the Singaporean relies on the CPF, so they can take the money from that kind of fund. So I think this is an important indicator that Hong Kong can learn from that, because it doesn't mean that housing provision by the government is equal to a huge burden. So I think that Hong Kong can learn from this kind of Singaporean experience.
Yes, talking about the MPF, we also think that it is a very important element for the success of Singapore. And so what I would like to share is that I will make use of the MPF to really ask the local residents here, to ask them what is their feeling towards their housing policy in their home countries. And I also, and so that when I asked two residents who are the taxi drivers in Singapore, to ask their personal feelings towards this kind of policy in Singapore. And I find that one man is older and the other is much more younger than the two taxi drivers. And they also told us that they are proud of the MPF system, which makes them have a really good housing in Singapore. And but in other parts, they are not. They speak ill of the other policies of Singapore. They also think that Singapore, though the housing policy is really good, but there are some drawbacks because of the other system. And most of the things which make them success, maybe the MPF and also the government really control much of the cities, everything in that, but they cannot say anything. And so we try to compare this with Hong Kong, but Hong Kong is controlled mostly by the rich people in the country, and so which makes us very difficult to buy houses. But the local residents here also share with us that Hong Kong can actually has more freedom in these areas, and so that though we think that our housing policy is not good, it's not as good as Singaporean, but we can also find that the other aspects we may have done better than the others, so we do not need to disappointed. And also what shared by Philip is that he also shared with us that we do not only to work hard, but to work smart, right? And so I think it is a very important element for us. After coming back to Hong Kong, we need to buy houses, right? And so I think, we need to think more these aspects and analyze more in order to how to really think of some smart way to really make some money.
The good thing we hear in Singapore today is that their housing price is very high, but most people can live in a very simple house. But we also, yesterday, I also asked about the drivers. I think the better way to understand the city is to know some local people. So we asked the driver to take good advantage of the run trip from the night safari. What I hear is mostly that some of them give me the negative comments about their city. Actually, they are complaining about their government interference, and also they are really envy of the Hong Kong's freedom. So I think in this respect, maybe some people, it is different from what we expect here. But when you really talk to the local people, you can find something very different. And what I really want to talk about here is something like yesterday we visited one institution which is called National Research Foundation, and also two vendors, because I think Singaporeans really did a great job for combining the technology for the entrepreneurship. Also, they combined the social entrepreneur with the technology. Because I think when we started in PolyU, we also have an institution called the Microfund. It is like a platform combining the technology, also the social entrepreneurship. So I think we are also doing very good on this respect.
So I just want to add something. The overall impression of Singapore left on me is it is so government controlled, and there are disadvantages and advantages over Hong Kong housing policy and the government housing policy. And of course, due to the nature and geographical reasons, we can't do like Singapore. But according to what I know, the MPF in Hong Kong is about 5% to 50% of the income of the people. I think the government should learn from Singapore to make some adjustments of the MPF policies to make it flexible for people to choose from.
Yeah, just as my groomman mentioned, the government, to my point of view, just like a big parents. You know how they orderly arrange everything. From the urban planning point of view, you can rarely observe something like urban decay, because it is really serious urban decay in Hong Kong. You can find a lot of old buildings and some districts like Century Pool, like One Tai. However, you can rarely find those kind of buildings in Singapore. I think they have done a good job in urban renewal, and also the greening is really impressive. They deserve the name of Garden City. Yes. Yeah.
So let's have a Q&A session, and I will